Hey guys, how's it going? Twigs here. So we're going to be jumping into another discussion here. This time we're going to be watching Tectone give his take on a Twitter post by EO. So the Wuthering Waves discussion is never going to end apparently. So let's just jump right into this. Make sure to hit that like and... And I'll leave a link in the description below for Tectone's video, so definitely check out that link. Hit that like button for him, subscribe to his channel. He makes great content. And with that being said, let's jump into this video and see what's going on here.
This is, but apparently EO made a huge apparently EO made a scathing tweet. Let's go over this. Okay, what is this?
I know how that feels. I know how that feels so much to want to say something, and then your mouth just completely destroys the sentence right from the beginning of what you were trying to say.
This got 113,000 views. What the fuck? Jesus. All right, let's see this. Had a banger convo with some amazing creators about the current roster of gacha games, but primarily Wuthering Waves potential. A couple key takeaways without digging into too much detail. WuWa.
I see maybe why he didn't want to disclose the content creators that he had a discussion with, but it comes off as a who's they kind of deal.
WuWa's downfall will be that of the community, public perception. If they continue down this path, criticism is not y'all's enemy. So
with this last part of the sentence, this little brief statement here, criticism is not y'all's enemy, I agree with that completely. Criticism, as long as it's in good faith, is always a good thing because it's just constructive criticism. No brainer there. But with this, WuWa's downfall will be that the community's public perception is not entirely true because it depends on what group of a community's public perception. For example, a big, easy example is the Genshin Impact community. In this case, public perception is based on what part of the community that you perceive. For example, I think when it comes to like the content creation and the hardcore community, it is pretty much sort of similar to the Genshin Impact community where you got Kuro bots that believe or are going down the road of toxic positivity. And then you have those that believe in constructive criticism. But then if you look at a casual community, people who aren't as integrated, they might not just give a rat's ass about anything. They probably don't even know what's going on.
So I mean this genuinely. The vocal community makes up less than 9% of a game's player base.
Yeah.
To be completely fucking honest, the downfall of Wuthering Waves would be bad game design and poor marketing, not really what the content creators are saying or not. I know people really want to feel like that's their only hope, but it's really not. We've seen that with many other games like Nikkei, Arknights, all games that are doing well with pretty much no content creator scene whatsoever. It's truly not the exception. It is the rule.
That's why I said when it comes to the overall community that is not integrated into social media, they're not going to know. And that's the largest portion of a game's player base is the casuals.
Content creators help, sure, but
yeah,
little bit, not big bit, little bit. Okay. Criticism is not y'all's enemy. This take is nonsensical and pointless. The developers themselves have already said that they're open to criticism.
Yeah.
Nobody is arguing this whatsoever. So this is kind of one of those things where it's just like saying obvious shit for I said the correct thing points. No, nobody's arguing against criticism. Nobody of importance. And if you're arguing with people who don't have importance, it's kind of just a waste of time. Figureheads of these spaces need to hold more accountability, acceptance in their position of power, voice, and police shame the community together. What the fuck's that even mean?
In my opinion, this is really dependent on the content creator. If you're a figurehead, yeah, it would maybe be nice for them to take accountability and acceptance, but only when it comes to their community. But the thing is that there's only so much a content creator can do with their community. At the end of the day, a person's community is just a gathering of people, and people are going to do their own thing. There's only so much control that a content creator can have on their community. And yeah, a content creator can police or shame bad apples in their community, but again, there's only so much a content creator can do other than ban them and maybe just tell them they're an idiot when they're being an idiot. But they only have so much power.
This point I don't even understand. Figureheads of the spaces need to hold more accountability, acceptance in their position of power, and police shame the community together. This is like incredibly vague. All right, this is too vague to actually make any point whatsoever, because you're not telling them what to police and shame the community for. This needs far more specificity. S-tier content that isn't react and guides. Yeah, sure, I think it would benefit the community to have videos that are more about the fun of Wuthering Waves rather than just reaction guides. Sure, absolutely. Kuro needs to...
Again, this all depends on the content creator. A content creator also has to kind of follow what the community is looking for. And the other big thing about right now in the content flow of WuWa is that there's not really anything to really make content for. Other than right now Lumi's come out, but Lumi's a 4-star character and there's only going to be so much interest in a 4-star character. And right now there isn't any interesting content to make videos over for WuWa. And honestly, it's not just WuWa. It's also Honkai Star Rail and ZZZ. Now, when 1.4 drops for ZZZ, then there's going to be more content that's anything else but reacts and guides. There'll be guides, obviously, because Miyabi and Haramasa are going to drop. But what I'm saying is that we're going to see a 1.4 drop for ZZZ. There's going to be quite a bit of content to do for ZZZ. When it comes to Honkai Star Rail right now, I would argue that it's in sort of a similar position as WuWa right now. Content's kind of slow for Honkai Star Rail. We're right now in a waiting period for when Fugue, aka 5-star Tingyun, drops, and also when the new rotation for Pure Fiction rotates in, because that's going to be a whole new update for the Pure Fiction mode. So that's why right now you're only seeing basically reacts and certain guides, because we're in sort of a waiting period for content to rotate around.
To be more directly involved with benefiting their creators. It would be nice if they did that. However, barely any companies actually interact with the creators of their community. It's really not that big of a deal. The fact that they already have a Discord and have content creator plans, as well as offering lots of creators long-term sponsorships, they're kind of doing more than what they're already doing, so this really isn't that important. What Kuro is going to fail at their vision if they don't quickly establish WuWa as its own thing, not a Genshin plus XYZ identity.
Let me read this again. Kuro is going to fail at their vision if they don't quickly establish WuWa as its own thing and not a Genshin plus XYZ identity. I don't think it's going to fail. In fact, I don't think it's going to fail at all. Mostly because it's trying. It's even, I would even say, trying to target Genshin Impact in the sense that it's a open world anime-esque exploration combat RPG. But at the same time, it tries to differentiate itself by doing its own vibes with the whole dark, more serious, mature tone. But I will say that it needs to make itself feel more unique compared to Genshin Impact. That was why we had a whole discussion about TOA not that long ago with the whole Gotcha Smack St. Tontis drama. So to an extent, I disagree with this, just with the concept of it's going to fail. I don't agree with that, but I would say that it could do more to make itself feel more unique.
There's no way to do that whatsoever, because the Genshin comparison thing will always exist, considering that they're two games of the same genre.
Yeah.
I think they've already done enough in order to do that with the exhilarating combat experience, as well as the existence of holograms and truly difficult meaning content. Yep, and no baby game Paimon. There's not really anything else they could do. Genuinely, I don't know, and I would love to know what EO suggests they do for this, The only way they separate it from Genshin Plus is to make a completely different game.
And that's why I say pretty much why I feel the way I feel is because they pretty much went for that market. They went for that demographic, only adding their own twist, like I said, with the darker, mature tone. But like he said, the comparison's always going to be there because they went for that market.
There is actually no way to do this. There is no way to do this.
That's why I said also that they could at least try to make their game modes feel more unique and separate from what we would expect from Genshin Impact.
Case in point, chat, give me one example on how they could do this. Are you noticing how every single comment that was just said was nonsensical? Or I don't know. There is actually no way to do that. So what they need to do is they need to just show that they are the better Genshin, right? And so far, I think they're doing a fine job doing that. To be completely honest, for what they set out to do, I think they're doing a fine job. Most of the systems in WuWa have no real purpose relative to the game itself, which further separates the identity, i.e. multiple features inspired from other mediums, but not fleshed out enough to be part of their own game.
I think I see where he's going with this, but he just worded it in a way where it sounds confusing as fuck. And so if I were to throw a dart at the wall and take a guess at what he's trying to say, is he might as well just literally said the ecosystem. Even though the ecosystem was inspired by artifact and relic systems from other gacha games like Genshin and Honkai Star Rail, but Kuro did take that artifact relic system and did something unique with how echoes are done in Wuthering Waves by having them be monsters that pretty much become our quote-unquote artifacts. And so that is neat, but the problem is kind of like what Io's saying, if this is what he was trying to say, is that when you look at how you level echoes, it feels nonsensical due to the fact that you can't see the substats, you don't know if the echoes are going to be shit or not, and the only way you can see if the echoes are going to be shit or not is to burn the currency, the material used to do so, and then if it turns out to be shit, like 9 times out of the 10, they end up being shit, then you just wasted an echo, which again turned out to be shit. You wasted XP material on this echo, so therefore you just burned XP material. And then, at the end of the day, you just burned daily stamina. And so everything just became a net negative for that run. And if you want to just hold on to them, just in the hopes that they might be useful, then you're just wasting storage space. And so it just becomes a very convoluted system that can kind of seem like it has no real purpose, like the XP material to see the substats. And so this is what I think Io was going for. He just worded it in a way that came off confusing as fuck. And so to summarize, if this is what Io was trying to say, and he was referring to the ecosystem, then yes, it does feel like a system that was inspired by other mediums, but it's definitely not fleshed out enough for it to not come off as convoluted.
I really don't think Io understands how vague these comments are to where they almost make no sense. Like, to say that most of the systems have no purpose relative to the game itself, which further separates the identity, is the most nonsensical, vague yap I have seen in forever.
I agree.
Are you noticing how not a single example is listed here? I'm not.
Yeah, and that's why I had to create one for him. I literally had to come up with the ecosystem because the ecosystem is the only thing that falls in line with this statement whatsoever.
Saying that he couldn't give an example, but when you make one of these be-all, end-all, mass constructive criticism posts, you actually have to tell them what they should do, right? This whole post is the most Mickey Mouse third grade, I think they should do this. I think they should make the game better by making it awesome. Like, this shit isn't even saying anything. Like, oh, dude, I think they should make Pokemon cooler. I don't really know how, but I think they should make it more epic. I'm looking at this in the most charitable way. It might be juggling animations co-op. So Genshin already has co-op. Genshin already has animation canceling. For juggling, oh, so it's just Genshin with juggling? You know what I'm saying? Like, Wuthering Waves' combat is so much more intricate than Genshin Impact. At such a deep level, from the parries, the iframe dodges that cause slow-mo to increase more damage, as well as the break meter, and even that is not enough to not just call it Genshin with better combat. There is no way to break out from that mold. There's no way. Immerse the players in the actual game, not the concept of better than Genshin. So I think you should make your game more immersive to the actual game, not the concept. Bro, when you make posts like this, when you say a game needs to get, like, do you guys understand? If these comments were to go into a Wuthering Waves get better board, they would laugh at the guy and tell him to get the fuck out of the room. Straight up. This post says nothing. Yeah, for example, I did something similar to this.
I do think this comes off as a very, very generalized statement, and I feel like it's more so just a add-on to everything else that was said beforehand. And so when you look at this bullet point by itself, it does just read like an add-on. Like, it doesn't actually come across like it's trying to state something specifically. I think what EO was trying to say here, and again, I am trying to find ways to decipher what it is that he is literally trying to say in these very vague, generalized statements, is that he's trying to say, do more to make the game feel unique and separate from Genshin Impact, to where when someone's playing the game, they're like, oh, I'm playing Wuthering Waves, and not thinking to themselves, oh, I'm playing a game that is a competitor to Genshin Impact. And even though that is true, even though that is a very, very true statement, I think what EO's just trying to say is make the game feel as different as possible from Genshin Impact. And so, I'm being charitable. I am absolutely being charitable and trying to give EO the benefit of the doubt and trying to figure out what the fuck he's trying to say here. But the problem with this statement is that Kuro did this to themselves. They literally made this game to try to take a piece of the pie of the market that Genshin Impact has pretty much had a monopoly on. And when you literally try to compete in the same fucking market as your competitor by making an open world RPG, anime-esque fantasy game, you are going to be compared to your competitor. Look at McDonald's and Burger King and Wendy's and Hardee's. Each one of them knows that they compete within the same exact markets. All of them know. Every one of them know that they are competing with one another because they are, again, within that same market, exact same market, fast food, cheeseburger, restaurant. So to an extent, yet they can try to make their food, whatever they decide to sell, but at the end of the day, what they're going for is cheeseburgers. They can try to make their restaurant as unique as possible to set themselves apart from one another. But there's only so much they can do to differentiate themselves from their competitors. Because at the end of the day, they are a fast food cheeseburger restaurant. At the end of the day, their customers are going to be comparing them with their direct competitors. So in this analogy, Wuthering Waves, at the end of the day, even though I do agree that they can do more to set themselves apart from their direct competitor, but at the end of the day, there's only so much they can do.
But I did it in a video format and gave ways I thought they could move. Exactly. Like, this vague criticism does nothing. This whole post is, I think they should make the game better. WuWa is missing the glue to the system. Top 3 most important to the game's problems.
Even I don't know what he means by that. I have been literally being as charitable as possible for EO and trying to decipher what the fuck he's been trying to say here. But even I am baffled by what he means here. What the fuck do you mean glue to the system? Top 3 most important to the game's problems. Dude, the best I can do is think that you mean the first 3 bullet points. Other than that, what the fuck do you mean?
What the fuck does that even mean? Like, you have to understand this. If EO sees this video and then elaborates on what he meant, it still doesn't negate the fact that this post does nothing. It literally does nothing. WuWa needs more glue. What the fuck are we even saying? This dude is crashing out on Wuthering Waves, saying it needs all these things and then providing no alternative. And I'm sorry, if you say this thing needs to be better and you're not giving criticism on what exact thing you're talking about, you're just not helping. I'm hoping he at least talks about what creators he's talking about so I can ask him. Hopefully he's specific about that. I'm hoping for V2 hitting the ground hard and handling a lot of issues that have been brought to light. Like what? As well as those that are major problems. Like what? But the vocal minority has shunned. This sentence structure didn't even make any fucking sense.
All right, I'm going to try to read this and see if maybe I pick it up. I'm hopeful for V2 hitting the ground hard and handling a lot. Oh, okay. I think I know what he means. And handling a lot of issues that have been brought to light, as well as those that are major problems, but the vocal majority has shunned. All right, what he is trying to say, but the problem is that he worded it in a way that no one ever, like, not a normal person speaks this way. Not a single normal human being, other than if your name is EO, speaks in these types of sentences. What EO is trying to say in EO speak is, I'm hopeful that the 2.0 Renacita update hits the ground running and handles a lot of issues that have been brought to light, as well as hopefully most of those are the major problems that the vocal majority has shunned. You're welcome, EO. I believe a lot of these problems can be solved with quickness, but will probably take effort and willing parties. I agree. I do hope a lot of these problems can be solved.
Specific about that. I'm hoping for V2 hitting the ground hard and handling a lot of issues can be solved with quick, but takes willing effort and parties. Tons of people like to pull the wool over their eyes when they smell the house burning, but then it's too late. Bro said nothing in this entire post. Is he at least specific about the content creators he talked to? Oh, here we go. All right, EO, name the creators you talk to. Need to hear where these takes are coming from. I'm not naming shit. He won't even be specific about who he talked to for this? What the fuck? Not naming shit on here for low IQ Twitter's users to bitch and moan at them about Lamau. I'll just DM you. Why does bro need to be vague about what CCs he talked to about these issues?
I think he's just afraid that if he names these content creators, he's afraid that, like, let's say Kuro bots or maybe Hoyo shills, but more than likely Kuro bots, because we're talking about WuWa here, will bitch and moan at him. So I get where he's coming from, but the thing is, when you make these claims that are so vague and realistically unhelpful to what you're trying to do in the first place. And then when you look back at the first sentence and you say, I had a conversation with so many content creators. So when you add these 2 points together and then consider the context of all this, again, I go back to what I first said. Your first sentence comes off as, so I talked to these people and they said, and again, it just comes off as who's they? Who are these people you are talking to? I need to know who is it that you're getting this information from, because I need to know your sources, bro. I need to understand where you're coming from is at least somewhat credible.
Those are some damn good points. V, what point did he make in this whole post? V, are you here? What? He didn't make a single point in the whole post. Wuthering Waves' downfall is over-exaggerating, especially when it's positive reception for the most part in CN, KR, and JP. It's not an exaggeration. It's a this or that positive reception within the space. Outside the space, we're being labeled anything but positive. As I said, public perception. Proof? The game...
Yeah, again, no, to Tectone's point, there's no proof. And also, he's coming from a content creator perspective. And again, like Tectone said, content creators do have sort of an effect on the community, but it's a very small effect because there are so many people within the content creation space. People get their information from different sources. That's, again, comes back to the who's they whole deal. But the thing is that when you look at the grand scheme of things, you consider the content creator space, and then you also consider the people that revolve around the content creator space, and that's actually just a small bubble within a larger community. But when you consider the casual market, the people that are not clued in, that are not in touch with the hardcore or internet portion of the community like we are, it dwarfs us. We are dwarfed by the casual market. And so it literally is an exaggeration.
Game is making tens of millions of dollars globally. How do people see posts like this and not just say, bro, you said nothing in this whole post. Time to quote tweet it. Bro yapped all that and didn't say a single word. That's just insane to me. I really hope that people understand that, like, when you say game needs to be better, and I mean to tell you, I'm going to go through this whole post again. Guys, I shit you not. Some amazing creators about the potential. Nothing specific. WuWa's downfall. If they continue down a path, what path? Criticism is not y'all's enemy. The company themselves say they want criticism. Figureheads of the space. Who? Police shame the community together. For what? S-tier content that isn't React's guides. Still vague. Kuro needs to get more directly involved with benefiting their creators. Like who? Also, other companies don't do that. Kuro's going to fail at their vision. What's their vision? If they don't quickly establish WuWa as his own thing and not a Genshin plus XYZ, there's no way to do that. Most of the systems in WuWa have no real purpose relative to the game. Which systems? Which further separates the identity. What identity? Multiple features from other mediums, but not fleshed out enough for their own game. Doesn't even make any sense. Immerse the players in the game, not in the concept of better than Genshin. What does that mean? WuWa's missing the glue.
Top glue.
Game's problems.
That's the funniest one.
And the crazy thing is, I know he's going to get upset at this react. But the thing is, you can't go live and vague post that hard saying you're trying to make the game better and then provide literally nothing. Like, literally. And guys, correct me if I'm wrong. Name me one thing that he actually said that was palpable. I'm going to be real. I'm not trying to sound like I have a big head or anything. But I think dedicated WuWa creators are me and Saint and a few others, and I think none of us would agree with this. Yeah. I mean, I don't. That's sorry, guys. That is just fucking weird to me. Really, that is just a weird fucking post.
I feel like EO in his head thought he was saying something, and probably in his head it made sense. But it came off so vague and generalized in real life that because of that, it came off nonsensical. When I look at his post, I see something potentially there, but there's really no depth to it. It's literally the equivalent. His post was literally the equivalent to WuWa's plot. No real depth. Hopefully 2.0 changes that. And when I look at where this definitely seems evident is this last paragraph here. The sentence structure was so awful that I literally had to read it and then translate it. So this is clearly a sign in this paragraph of somebody who had something in their head and it made sense, but again, he typed it out and in reality, it made no sense. If it made sense, I would have had to translate it. Same thing with this point here. It comes off so vague that I had to come up with a point for him with the ecosystem because the ecosystem actually meets this point. This post right here, I had to kind of sort of elaborate on maybe what he meant, but by itself, the post is so vague that it comes off silly. And then this, I have no fucking clue what he was trying to say. Tectone had no clue what he was trying to say. What do you mean by glue? What systems do you think is missing glue? And so I'm going to still try to be charitable toward EO. I think he probably had maybe a point in all this, but it was just lost in the sauce. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Definitely head down to the comments and let me know if you guys are on the same page of me and Tectone and thinking that this post by EO was definitely lost in the sauce, or if you actually do understand what EO is saying, definitely head down to the comments and give us your best interpretation. But again, I mean no ill will toward EO, and I'm sure probably Tectone doesn't either, but I'll speak for myself in saying I don't mean any ill will. I think EO is a cool dude. I think EO means well, and I think he is genuinely a good guy, but I just think he got his thoughts all jumbled up and they got lost in the sauce. So I'll leave a link in the description below for Tectone's video. Definitely check out his channel, hit that like and subscribe button for him. And while you're at it, hit that like and subscribe button for me. I greatly appreciate it. And with that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.